This is a big topic because I think we've both heard, seen, participated in partnerships where things work, which is what we want, and when things don't work. We know in relationships, something called divorce. In business, the same thing can happen with an equal impact on your psyche, on your finances, on your day to day life. So, we want to dive into the marriage of business partnerships. I'll throw it over to you.
Dude, this is huge for me. I wouldn't be in the marketing game had it not been for partnerships. And partnerships are twofold in my experience with marketing. You have partnerships with somebody you partnered with from a business perspective, right? You have that aspect. Then you have partnerships with other companies. In this instance, for me, it was affiliate. I would partner with this company as an affiliate to help sell their product. And that partnership from the marketing, like, partnering with marketing companies or businesses, or partnering with businesses in general, that can look different. And it look, many different ways. It can go many different ways. But for me, one of the reasons I want to talk about this topic was we know there's a friend of our mutual acquaintance of ours, and they're going through something serious. They got a pretty big business, and they built it up, and we've watched it build these last couple years or so. We're watching this thing build, and just recently, their business partner tries to slide in and cut them out and take over the entire business. We don't know the ins and outs of the whole situation, but for me to see somebody at such a high level building something, I mean, we're watching them build it, and then the business partner comes in and is like, "Yo, I'm gonna cut you out and take this thing over." And this is not a chump change thing. It just really got me thinking. For me, Dmitri, like I told you, I started off with a business partner, and then I was able to leave corporate America through partnering up with businesses via being an affiliate. My very first business partner, he showed me the whole marketing game and the affiliate marketing thing, and he gave me access to resources. This is when I was in corporate America, and I wasn't a manager and he was an employee, and he brought me into the world. And long story short, I think him and we were alike, but very, very different. And we would bump heads. And I don't get that close to a lot of people that I end up bumping heads with in a negative way. It's good to like bump heads to make each other better and not be bobbleheads. That's different. That's healthy. We'd bump heads in a manner that wasn't super healthy. And what happened eventually in this partnership, Dimitri, it didn't end well. Um, he knew way more than I did at first, but I worked way harder than he did. At first, we were kind of even. We were both kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then my daughter got born, and I really started putting the pedal to the metal. Really started learning and learning. And then our very first marketing hit was me. And he just happened to be along, and I gave him half the money because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been in the game. But did he deserve half the money? No, maybe 5% at best. Because he didn't do much. He didn't do anything. It was just so it got to a point where I surpassed him, and I had to make a decision, Dimitri. I could stay here and carry this guy and lead the thing. And how am I going to do that? Because I don't know the hell I don't know what I'm doing, right? Or I could branch out and partner up with people who were better than me. And that was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. I got to a point where it was a fork in the road where, hey, I can go this route with this individual and learn more and build a business, or I could stay with this guy and try to carry him. And we're already bumping heads. And I made the decision to go with the other individual, who's my business partner to this day. He's the guy I told you about, like the Black Jason Fladlin. But that was hard. If you think about it, I felt bad. I felt like I was being a traitor. I felt all the things you would feel in that situation, but it's worked out. I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you if I didn't make that decision. So that's my partnership story from just partnering side. I didn't get into the marketing stuff, partnering up with other companies. But have you had situations in the partnership world that went well or didn't go well?
I do have a story about a partnership, not quite a partnership, but a what I expected to become a partnership, or at least a part owner of a company or a project. And so partnerships take, like, you think of two people typically, right? It's we're partners. Now, there's also partners in a law firm. You can have a million different partners, I think up to 100 or something legally. And so the partner word is a little bit ambiguous. I guess I expect it to be, and the other thing, I expect it to be a partner in that it's not necessarily full equal rights to the company, but I have some kind of vested interest through equity of the profit interests of a company more than just being an employee. I think that was the goal, is to become more than an employee. In my 20s, I listened, especially past 25, which is a whole nother story of how I was inspired one day by someone on an airplane going to Traffic and Conversion Summit. And I realized I'm so far behind, I got to start learning. That's maybe for another time. But once I started the learning process on my own, where I wasn't relying on my employer to teach me everything about the job, and I knew I could find information by myself on the internet, through books, through YouTube was coming really heavily into that point. And, that whole, I can only learn from the person who's from the hand that feeds me, so to speak, is not necessarily the case, because if you're always taking from the hand that feeds you, that means you can never be equal to that hand, right? You're always going to be the lesser role in that company. So you have to bring something on your own. And I think the part of this relates back to your story, how you started off as not knowing, and then you went and learned more and more from external sources, and you surpassed your partner. And that was a difficult thing probably for him as much as it was for you, because he was the man, I guess, or like the guy. He was the one teaching you, and he didn't expect the what's that karate saying is
pupil, or I don't know. I know what you're trying to say though. I know what you're talking about.
The young grasshopper becomes the master.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and I noticed that I was actually making a lot of progress. I was able to think of new ideas, new ways of doing things, bringing in clients on my own. And I thought I, at some point, deserved to have a partnership. Now, granted, these guys were my closest friends at the time. We were working at a small business that they owned. We were living together. We had similar friends. And so it seemed like that was the way it was going to go. Looking back now, of course, there's so many things that I did wrong. And I want to talk about those things after. But to finish the story was, I felt ready. I felt like it was time to go. They had promised me this for years and years and years. And when it came down to it, and not only did they not give me the partnership, they didn't want to give me equity, but they also told me I'd been doing a bad job, which to me was pretty unreasonable. And I had to leave. I had to make a very difficult decision to leave the company I was with my closest friends. We were together for 6 or 7 years, and I had to leave. And it just became a total disaster. Like, everyone's feelings were hurt, accusations of this and that. It went really far south. And there's so much to learn from it. And there's still so much to work through from it, from a personal perspective, from an emotional perspective, from even a traumatic in my cell perspective, because of how difficult that period was to go through. These partnerships are real investments, not just monetarily, not just with your time, but with your soul in many cases. And so that's why I want to also discuss what can be done, what can we learn from our mistakes.